What's up, everybody? We're back again with another episode of On the Court with CP and AG. We're here to talk about the MVP race. We got Joel Embiid, Jokic, Julius Randle's in the conversation. Some other guys. Obviously, Steph Curry's making his way up. And then we'll talk about pretty much just the league where we're at right now. We've been not really talking about the NBA much because of college hoops and March Madness, but we're here today back to the NBA. What's up, Connor?
How we doing? I mean, yeah, we took a little hiatus because with so many tournament games going on, that's kind of been the primary focus. And I mean, the NBA was we got games, but now we're down to the heart of the season where everybody's making the push to either make it into the little playing tournament or avoid that entirely and be a six seed in the East or the West.
Yep. So let's get into that. So in the East, we got the Sixers and the Nets kind of taking control of the top two spots there. The Bucks coming in third, and then I think it gets really interesting after that. We kind of expected those three to be the top three in some kind of fashion, but after that, a lot of that is unexpected. I had confidence in the Hawks. I think they're a good, solid young team, but I didn't think they were going to come out and be fourth in the East this year. And then the Knicks, obviously, in fifth.
Yeah, I thought the Hawks were going to be a team to watch that before the season started. I didn't think they were going to be this good,
Right.
but I think outside of the top three, it's kind of been funky. The Celtics have been god awful this year. The Heat have had so many issues, whether it be COVID with Jimmy Butler and Jimmy's been out, Depot's been out. So they've had a funky season. The Pacers are largely underperforming to where we're used to seeing them at like the 6, 7 spot in the East the last several years. So, but it's given opportunities to like the Hawks who are playing out of their minds now that they have everybody back from injury. Even though Trey Young, he's like at the time during when the All Star noms were announced, a lot of people thought he was a snub, and now looking at it, he's having a down season compared to like the last two, but the Hawks are just playing a lot better because you add in Bogdanovich, Gallinari, Capella, who's playing out of his mind. He's averaging 15 and 14 so far this season. And then all the other things he could do, rim runner, block shots.
Yep.
So they're looking really solid for such a young team.
And the
I mean,
Knicks.
yeah, the Knicks, they're the like in a way they're the most surprising,
Yeah,
but
definitely. I think.
yeah, but then you have Randall, who's leading the team in scoring, rebounds, assists, and has been a good plug and play into Tibbs's defense. Like he's always in the right spot. He's no longer the bull in the china shop we would see when he was with the Lakers, where he would just try to run through everybody to get to the rack. And it seems like every time I've been watching a lot of Knicks games recently, and it seems every time he goes and takes like a little pull up fadeaway, he drills it with a hand in his face. So overall, him and the entire team have been really impressive, even though they lost Mitchell Robinson, who was supposed to be their starter. And I think it's the main attribute is that they're one of the best defenses in the entire league.
Yeah, it's definitely working for him. The Pacers are at eight. You said who's at nine?
Pacers are at 9, Hornets at
Oh,
8.
Hornets are at eight. Yeah, yeah. Lamelo Ball's coming back early from his wrist injury.
That'll
Speak.
definitely be good for them. It'll be interesting to see if he's playing like hesitantly at all, just so he doesn't go down again. Because he's a like I guess that's kind of like the psyche with a lot of young players who haven't had to deal with any sort of injuries at all in their careers, especially rookies. So we'll see. I mean, it's good that he's progressing and definitely good for the Hornets, who were a pretty nice looking team not once they plugged him into the starting lineup.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of injuries in the East, we got the Nets. The Nets, tons of injuries they've been dealing with, or just people missing games for other reasons as well. And most recently, Harden went down. They said Harden's going to be. We might see him before the playoffs. We might see him sooner, but it's pretty much square one. Like he'll play when he's ready to go. There's no real timetable on it yet.
Yeah, because he tweaked something when he was doing a workout Monday, and like an hour or two ago, they said KD's uh probably gonna be able to play this weekend, whether it be I think first game's either Friday or Sunday this weekend. So that's definitely good to hear.
Check
Honestly,
this.
a lot quicker than I expected for him
Yeah,
to return.
yeah. Check this out. James Harden, Kyrie, and KD. How many games have they played together this year? All three of them on the court.
Seven, they're 5-2 in those
Seven.
games.
Yeah, but only seven. They need something before the playoffs. I think. I think that's going to be tough to build enough chemistry to win a finals. You know what I mean? In those first 2, 3 rounds, because they'll probably breeze through the first round, regardless of who's healthy or not. Second round get a little interesting, but I got them winning. You know what I mean? Got them good for that. As long as two of them are playing, we're
I
good.
mean, like hold off on that for a second. So like there's right now sitting at 2, and in the second round, then they'd likely be playing the Bucks if if like the
True.
playoff standings are
Yeah.
as they are right
Yeah.
now.
They would.
So the second round wouldn't be a breeze, even though the Bucks are struggling right now.
No,
Giannis
definitely.
poses a huge mismatch on the defensive end for whichever Nets players standing across the paint from him. But yeah, like it'll definitely be interesting once they get some like cohesion and actually get time on the court together.
Yeah.
But I mean, they'll get through a first round series barring something ridiculous happening.
Exactly. But they've
But
had enough time to build that chemistry before they run into the Bucks.
yeah, but they like at various points during the season we've had like Harden and KD, Harden and Kyrie,
Right.
KD and
Right. Well, all
Kyrie.
three of them.
Yeah, but
That's
not
the
all
issue.
three of them. But like they're all really smart basketball players, and
Definitely.
they don't like everyone was saying, oh, there's only one basketball when they signed Kyrie and KD.
Yeah.
They were playing well
Hmm.
when it was just them two. When they put Harden in the mix, the offense went to a whole nother level. So I think they'll be fine, and it'll just like the team will be better because guys like Joe Harris, Shamit, Jeff Green, and Bruce Brown, they'll be in more so in their role and not be having to do too much on a nightly basis. So it'll just give them more depth. And like right now, I was watching the Nets Raptors game, and in the second quarter, there were countless possessions where Joe Harris was taking things off the dribble, trying to make plays happen by himself,
Hmm.
which isn't something you look forward to. But
Yeah.
if he's just a secondary, like a tertiary scorer, just standing on the wing, knocking down threes at a just under 50% clip for the whole season, that's a deadly team. And it's going to be a lot for whoever they face to game plan for because you have those big three, and then you got sharpshooters everywhere coming off the bench in the lineup. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I
I
just
agree.
hope they get back together. Like everybody knows, I'm a Nets fan, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm a Thunder fan, so we're tanking right now. We're in competition for that number one pick. I'm ready for it. You know what I mean? We're 0-10 in the last 10 games, so we're doing a good job at getting to our goal. But let's flip over to the West now. We got the Jazz in first place. They've been there all season after a really hot start. And the Suns, that's the most surprising one in the West for me. Second.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes with the Jazz because Donovan Mitchell went down over
Mm-hmm.
the weekend. Not sure what his timetable is.
I think they said there wasn't any like structural damage or anything, so he should be not too long. I don't think.
It shouldn't be bad, but that it's just concerning when it's a player who relies on a lot of athleticism.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But I mean, they'll still be standing pat because like the Suns are still a young team and they're in a tough battle with the 76ers right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the Clippers, they're dealing with their own injury bug. The Nuggets lost Jamal Murray, and you mentioned before they're 8-2 in the last 10. And the Lakers still don't have LeBron or AD, but they're standing pat at 5 in the West.
Yep.
And then like it's a totally injury ridden season. The Blazers they were without Nurkic and Dame last night, got a win Oh no, they lost by 1 to the Clippers. The Mavericks, KP's in and out of the lineup. Grizzlies, Valanciunas is out tonight. Uh, and Jaren Jackson's now just he's getting his first game tonight. Warriors without Clay. Draymond was out. Curry missed 7 games or so. So it's just been like a totally injury ridden season for the entire league. Do we attribute that to season being started on such a short notice, especially for the bubble teams and the condensed schedule, playing so many games in such a short time frame, like 5 games in a week for a lot of teams on a regular basis? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair to assess it that way. It's been a lot of injuries compared to normal seasons. You know what I mean? So even NBA players, I forget who exactly, but there was guys on Twitter tweeting about it, saying, we can't do this again. We're not doing this short season again. I don't care what happens. We're not doing it because all these guys are going down left and right.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are part of all professional sports,
Right, right.
but
But there's a quick turnaround.
there are underlying reasons why the league had to start the season and do it in such a time frame, because
Yeah,
they had to hit the 72 games in order to get their TV revenue money and get things finished before the uh, Olympics are supposed to start.
right,
So we'll see if that actually does happen. But
right.
from a financial standpoint, the league as a whole took a hit last year
Hmm.
when the season went down, limited fan capacity for a majority of the season. Some stadiums still don't have fans, I'm pretty sure, in the league. So teams are losing revenue and definitely are going to need that TV money.
Yeah,
So like from a financial sense, it made like they kind of had to start the season to get things on track for 2022, next season. But injuries definitely are an issue, and like the league doesn't have any playbook to run things off of. There was no coronavirus
yeah,
pandemic
right.
beforehand.
Right. I don't I completely understand why the league did it. That's a no-brainer. They had to do what they had to do. There wasn't really much of a choice left for them, you know what I mean? They kind of had to do that. There's no other option that I can think of. Um but it just sucks. I mean, they're pushing the players to an extra limit that they clearly can't keep up with, can't maintain. And not that's not a knock on them, you know what I mean? It's a tough task asked of them, but I think it's definitely fair to attribute that to the condensed season, playing more games every week. I think that's the biggest factor right there.
I mean, like you could take it to a different level of basketball, but we're now seeing a lot more players having ACL, torn meniscus at like the high school and college levels because they're playing so many games with the high school, the AAU season,
And a lot of
fall
them
ball.
didn't have like full practice seasons and off seasons together where they're working out with the
Yeah,
team and
so
stuff.
it was just a totally wacky season. I mean, I get like it makes total sense. But I mean, it's
Yeah,
unfortunate because we're not seeing some of the stars in the league on the court. Like we're missing
right.
Curry and Clay. I had a future on them to win it all this year. One of many futures I'm not hitting on,
Yeah,
but it's part of the game. It's unfortunate. We want to see the best quality basketball on the court, and you like to see those top guys playing in order to get that. But also, one thing my mom actually pointed out to me that the NBA ratings are the worst since 2012 this season.
yeah. I wonder what that's about.
I mean, my knee jerk reaction was that does it have something to do with all these players not playing? Like you had
Right.
like LeBron and AD, they're done. Like LeBron's the face of the league. Curry was out a few games. No Curry and Clay. Like that team hasn't been great, and that was probably top 2 team in the league the last 6 years. Kawhi, PG, they've been in and out. You have Harden, KD, Kyrie. They're all missing games, and those are what I just named
Yeah. The
like
top 10. Just
that's
about.
probably like 8 of the top 15 players in the league
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
Right. No, that's definitely true.
I mean, we're
Speaking
just
about,
spitballing,
yeah,
but we're
yeah.
just
No,
spitballing on like on possible reasons. But I mean, it's just crazy. So I mean, basketball's probably at the peak that it's ever been. We're having like some of the highest offensive rating season in league history, the highest points output, I should say.
yeah. But going back to your futures, I put two futures in before the season started. I've got more in now, but like two were before the season started. I had I picked the Thunder to make the playoffs, so that's not happening. And I picked AD to win the MVP. That's not happening. Let's talk about why. Who's in the MVP race? Who you got winning it right now if the season ended today?
I'm taking Jokic. And a little interesting stat. So if Jokic wins the MVP this year, he said he'll have the record for the highest odds to win an MVP. He was plus 2,500 at before the season started. Now he's at I think minus 360 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like the previous record was Curry and for his first MVP, he was plus 1,600. But I mean, I give it to Jokic because beginning of the season, even when they had Jamal Murray, he typically like you look at the course of his career across the board, he has a rough start to every season since he's been in the NBA, and they were struggling, barely trying to win games. They were sitting at like 11 in the West,
Yeah.
but it was Jokic that really kept that team moving. And at that point in the season, he was leading the league in assists at a little under 11 a game, and those numbers have dropped off a bit, but he's been the whole reason that that team is now in the heart of the playoff picture and avoiding a playing game. But I like, and then like the other candidates, Joel Embiid, he's missed a quarter of the season. And one thing, I mean, obviously, I don't have a vote for MVP, but like one thing I look at, and I've mentioned it in the past about like the Harden versus Giannis the last couple of years, is think of like a stat like wins above replacement, you take that guy who's in the MVP conversation off of their team, what does that team look like? You take Jokic off that team, off that Nuggets team, they'd be probably bottom three in the West.
Maybe chilling with the Thunder.
Exactly. You take and Embiid's missed around like 15 games or so this season, and without him, they had a 600 winning percentage, still have maintained first in the East, look like they barely missed a beat. So
I hear
I'm
you.
not knocking anything he's done. He's upped his points per game. He's shooting an incredible percentage from the field compared to his previous years, actually hitting his mid-range and long two jumpers successfully, and isn't really forcing things from the outside. Like he's not looking to jack threes all day. He's using his size, his weight, his footwork in the post. Like he's putting together an incredible season. But where do you draw the line with missed games? Because up until LeBron's injury, he was in that top three. Now no one's talking about him really because he's missed a month and a half,
Yeah.
albeit that's more games than Embiid, but still, like where do you draw the line? Like you can you really miss a third of this like a quarter of the season and still win league MVP?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Back to one of your original points about, you know, you take the guy off the team, where does that team stand? And viewing the MVP in that sense, that made me think of Julius Randle immediately. And you mentioned
100%.
it before. You mentioned it before how he leads them in points, rebounds, and assists. I mean, he's a sleeper. I don't think he's going to win it, but he definitely deserves to be in the conversation.
Yeah, no, I just want to bring him up because that dude needs some love. He's
Yeah,
playing
right,
got his first All-Star appearance, and where would they be without him? They have and like the Knicks were a joke.
right.
All the free agency acquisitions, all power forwards, this and
Yeah,
that. What are they doing? You get RJ Barrett. Oh, he's a bust after 1 year shooting like 33% from the field or something like that. But like you got to give him some love because he's one player that hasn't missed any games this year. Took a team that should have been in the cellar in the East. Now they're
yeah.
sitting at the 5 spot,
They're going to
and
make the playoffs.
they're going to make the playoffs unless something crazy happens.
Right,
And they're probably the hottest team in the league right now.
right.
They're
And they got
on,
one
I
of the
think,
best defenses.
one of the best defenses in the league. I think they're on a 5 game win streak. They're playing the Hawks tonight. And betting wise, they've covered the last 10 games against the spread. But yeah, they're a great team, and he deserves some respect. So does Curry,
Yeah,
because again, another guy. I mean, it's a bad team, but like, where would the Warriors be without Curry? They'd be sitting in the cellar. You take him off that team, they're running a bunch of guys who, like, you would have thought could have been in the G League.
yeah,
Like, not knocking people in the G League, but like, I'm just saying, like, the quality. of guys on that
It's not.
roster isn't. It's not like anything for a contender.
It's not a
Like you
playoff
have
team.
no, it's not a playoff team. Like you have a lot of guys who probably from like 7 through 12 on that roster who would probably be sitting in that 10 to 12 spot on most rosters in the league
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the injuries and the funky makeup of that team.
Hmm.
So that's another guy. And like, can you really like Randall's not going to get it because he doesn't have the name recognition.
Steph
MVP
does.
pretty much MVP goes to the top like some of the faces of the NBA. That's why he's getting no love.
Steph
But
might get
then
it though. The way
what?
he's bowling right now, if Steph keeps this up, he might get it. He might snatch it at the last second.
He he could, and now because of his month of April, a lot of people more
That's what
people
I'm
are going to be
saying.
talking about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I don't have the stats, but like or like the record from the last several MVPs, but typically the MVP has gone to a guy who's on one of the top teams
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
league.
No, I don't think he's I agree with you that I think Jokic has the best odds right now. I think Jokic is the MVP right now. But I'm just saying, if Steph keeps this up, his April play, all the way through the end of the
It's gonna
season,
get tougher.
and they're gonna get up. They're gonna move up too. They're gonna move up to like 6, maybe. You know what I mean? If they're winning games while he's doing it. So, he has a chance, I think. I think he might sneak up and surprise people. He might like jump Joel Embiid or something like that instead, and Jokic still win it. But Steph's on the come up right now, man.
Oh, absolutely. Like you can like you would have to lose your job if you're an MVP voter and not talking about him. If you leave him
Right.
off the ballot, you got to get your voter registration taken from you.
Yeah, right.
And
um
also, one thing I just wanted to mention, like I think personally, I think they have to tweak how the MVP voting is done. I'm not sure the best way to do it, but maybe I was kind of thinking about it the other day because we're having problems where like Steph's like, yeah, I should be the MVP, but he in his tweet he was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to get it. We've had years where LeBron had like he doesn't get it, but like arguably was the best player in the league that
every year,
particular
right,
year,
right.
but because of voter fatigue, they don't give it to him. And then there's been times where like Harden got his because a lot of voters said like had a great season the year before,
And
and
should have
then
got it.
yeah, and like it's
Got it.
kind of like delayed year
Yeah.
after year. Like
And
it,
then they gave it to Harden over Giannis. So the next year, I think they gave it to Giannis.
and then
Like,
Giannis got it again the year after
yeah,
that.
like I hear you. I agree with you. I mean, there's
Like it.
definitely some room for improvement there for sure.
All right, so here's like my kind of plan. So I don't think you necessarily have to scrap the Associated Press voting, but I think the fairest way to do it, and I think that would give pretty much everybody across the board, both players, coaches, execs, and fans, the best like that we'd all be the happiest is if there's some sort of combination with press votes, player votes, and coaches votes.
Hmm.
Not sure how that would be divvied up, but some sort of way that could involve all of the three because I think players and coaches probably have the best perspective of who the best player is because you're seeing like they're seeing face to face
Right. They're
how that
playing
player
against them.
dominates. And from playing at that level or coaching on that level, I think that gives them the best perspective to do so.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a great point. It should be like that already. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's like we're getting to the point. I mean, like they're talking about the Super League with professional soccer.
I think that just went down the shitter too.
Yeah, they're trying to get
That's
rid of
done.
that. But like I just brought that up because we're getting to the point the NBA's been around for what, like 7 decades or something, where at some point like they brought in the 3-point line. Do we bring like there has to be and like they change like altered little rules like hand checking and stuff, but the game has to evolve.
Yeah.
Like the rules of the game have to evolve with the game itself, including and extend that to personal player awards and stuff like that.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. There's always room for improvement, and as the years go by, that's what they should be focused on. And it just makes sense. That just makes total sense. Like you said, they're the ones who are actually in touch. They're playing against these guys every day. Even for all the awards, for Coach of the Year, for Sixth Man of the Year, they should all follow a format similar to what you just proposed.
Who do you got for coach of the year since you brought that up?
I don't know, man. Is it Phoenix's coach?
Monty Williams? Yeah, so my top three, I wasn't thinking about him. I was talking about that on my podcast the other night.
Go
But
for it.
so I would have Monty Williams of the Suns, Tibbs of the Knicks, and Quinn Snyder of the Jazz.
Yeah. I actually, those are the three teams I had in mind when I first said it. I was like Suns and Jazz definitely, and then Knicks or it's tough because I would want to put Buddy that took over for the Hawks, but he doesn't have a full season. But the way he turned them around is pretty special. But I mean, I don't know. That's kind of comes down to the same thing of, are you going to give him Coach of the Year when he didn't coach the whole season? Are you going to give Joel Embiid the MVP?
Here's my reasoning why McMillan shouldn't be in the conversation. I don't think it was even like, yeah, he was on the bench and the coaching change may have been needed. But when they were struggling, they had Gallinari was hurt, Bogdanovich was hurt, Capella was in and out.
True.
Like they had so many injuries. It's the same. Like you're not going to have a full, like if you don't have your full team and they were missing all of their veteran guys, then how do you expect a team to win with a bunch of guys who maybe
Yeah.
have 3-4 years in the league?
Yeah, I wasn't really
No,
putting
it's
him in the
definitely a valid
conversation.
point.
But yeah, he did a good job. I mean, but there was other factors there, obviously.
Yeah, and
But
I
I agree
think
with your top three. I think that's
honestly, you
definitely
got to throw in Ty Lue with the Clippers.
Mhm.
They're sitting at 2,
Yeah,
and they've been dealing with Paul George and Kawhi missing games left and right.
yeah,
Steve Nash. I mean, the Nets are sitting a game back of the Sixers right now, and we mentioned the Big Three's only had 7 games together the whole
yeah.
year.
hmm
So whether that's just all talent, but there has to be some sort of coaching because the team's playing pretty damn well.
Yeah, I think that's a good top three you mentioned, and then those last two you mentioned are kind of like more so we expected them to be doing good, but with the circumstances they're facing, it's still impressive that they're doing what we thought. But I think those first three are like the surprising ones that jump out at everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so like if I were to have a vote, I think my card would be I would probably put Steve Nash at 5, Ty Lue 4. Uh I hate to do it, but Tibbs at 3. Uh Monty, it's tough. Like it's tough 1 and 2. I think 1 and 2 have to be Quinn Snyder and Monty Williams. But the Suns, no one thought they'd be number, I think what are they, 2 in the league?
Yeah,
They're definitely 2 in the West. But then the Jazz are number 1 team in the league record wise this year.
yeah. I think the top three are interchangeable because I kind of want to argue Tibbs being in that top two also.
Yeah, but like you think about it, the first year the Nets made the playoffs when with the D'Lo team, Atkinson, I thought he should have been coach of the year. They gave it to Bud,
hmm
and like the year before, the Bucks were 5 in the East, and then they were the number 1 team in the East. That year, I think it was 2016 or 2017, one of the two. But it's kind of like what I mentioned with Julius Randle, how um like if you're not a big name, you're not going to win the MVP.
Yeah,
Kind of how
right.
like if your team isn't like top in the league, typically
Yeah,
the coach of that team typically doesn't win it.
right. Even though they showed everything that it would take to win it, they still don't get the recognition. That's a fact. So yeah, Jazz or Quinn Snyder or Monty Williams definitely. I think that's a good top two. One of those two should win it. I mean, it might come down to whoever ends up winning the West out of those two, because the Suns aren't far back. I think they're like 1.5 back right now, and the Jazz haven't been playing too well without Donnie, or
Yeah,
over the
they're one
last
and a
10
half
games at
back.
least.
They're 1.5 back. The Suns are one of the hot, like again, one of the hotter teams in the league.
Yeah, they're 8-2 in their last 10, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good place to wrap it up, though. You got anything else, or
Wow, that's it.
go ahead, shout out your pod. I know you guys dropped an episode the other day, right, or yesterday?
Yeah, we dropped one last night. Give Me the Money podcast. Find us on Twitter, Spotify, all of that at Podcast GTM on Twitter if you want the link that way. And we'll probably be dropping one tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, make sure you guys check that out. It's another great show. They talk about a bunch of different stuff. And we got UFC. We got a UFC show dropping tomorrow. We got some blogs coming out for the weekend. Russo's NFL rundown on Sunday, talking about some off-season stuff. We got another mock draft coming on Monday morning. And we dropped a weekly episode. We dropped the weekly news episode this morning. So check all of that out and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like and comment before you leave. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.